Mariama froze, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. In a distant village named Neoka, renowned not only for its untouched landscapes, but also for a unique charm, the beauty of its women. It was said that the girls of Neoka were not only beautiful in appearance, but also strong and resilient. They were the pride of the village and attracted countless suitors from far and wide, all hoping for a chance to meet and choose an ideal life partner. Among these beautiful women, there was one name that was always mentioned, as if she were the brightest star in Neoka's deep night sky: Mariama. Mariama was not only blessed with captivating beauty, but also carried a kind heart, always ready to help anyone in need. The villagers said that while her beauty left them in awe, her kindness made them feel at peace and close to her. Whenever Mariama passed by, no one could help but stop and gaze at her. It seemed as though an invisible aura surrounded her, drawing admiration from everyone. The mothers of the village would whisper, "Surely Mariama will soon have a happy family and a good husband." Meanwhile, the young men couldn't take their eyes off her, hoping that one day they might win her heart. Yet, Mariama never seemed rushed when it came to matters of the heart. After the passing of her parents, she lived with her brother Amari, sharing both joy and sorrow. They were each other's only family, and their bond was unbreakable. In their small home, they led a simple life filled with laughter. The villagers often remarked, that family, though it's just the two of them, is always full of joy and harmony. But life often takes unexpected turns. Mariama had become a symbol of Neoka, and the weight of this began to press on her delicate shoulders. The villagers all hoped that soon the sound of wedding drums would echo, announcing the marriage of the most beautiful girl in the village. They gossiped, laughed, and eagerly anticipated the day, but none of them knew what was truly in Mariama's heart. She wondered, did anyone really understand what her heart longed for? Or was it all just the expectations of those around her? One night, as darkness enveloped the village, Mariama sat beside Amari, gazing at the star-filled sky and pondering her future. She wished for a family, but not because of the whispers of the villagers. She yearned for something deeper and more genuine. A desire stirred within her, accompanied by a vague sense of unease. Would life be as simple as the beauty of a blooming flower? Or would it hold unexpected twists, waiting for her? Let us wait and see what lies ahead for Mariama in the mysterious village of Neoka. Time passed, with the rains and the sunshine marking the seasons in Neoka, and Mariama grew older, her beauty becoming even more captivating. In Neoka, when a girl reached her 20s, the entire village eagerly awaited a grand wedding, complete with the rhythmic beating of drums and songs filling the air. But Mariama had reached the age of 26, an unusual number for the women of the village. Most had already married and started families, yet Mariama remained single, quietly living with her brother Amari in their modest home. This began to spark whispers throughout the village. The townsfolk, especially the older women, found excuses to visit Mariama, casually asking, "Mariama, dear, you're so beautiful, gentle and kind. How is it that you haven't chosen anyone yet? Don't you think it's time?" The elders expressed both concern and subtle hints, saying, "You're grown now. Here in Neoka, girls past 20 are expected to be married, but you're already 26 and still alone. Are you waiting for something that no one else can understand?" These words didn't anger Mariama, but each one felt like a small cut to her heart. She only smiled, maintaining her calm demeanor, and replied, "I want to choose the right person. I'm not in a hurry." Though she smiled, Mariama couldn't help but feel a weight in her heart. Each night, as she sat alone under the moonlight, she wondered if she was searching for something unattainable. But she also knew she couldn't marry just to appease the villagers or escape their judgmental stares. The villagers didn't stop there. The rumors spread far and wide, and even strangers passing through Neoka heard the tale of Mariama, the most beautiful girl in the village, yet still unmarried. Could she be cursed? Some whispered. How could someone so stunning not have received a formal proposal? The gossip grew louder, and Mariama began to feel as though she was standing on a stage with every villager watching her. They waited, speculated, and passed judgments, but no one truly understood the deeper reasons in her heart. One day, a relative came to visit, a woman who had been fond of Mariama since her childhood. She gently asked, "Mariama, don't you want to settle down soon? Don't you want a husband by your side and a home of your own?" Mariama met her gaze, her eyes contemplative, neither sad nor hesitant. "I know everyone is worried about me, but there is one thing I cannot do. I cannot marry just to make others happy. I will wait until I find someone who feels right to me," she said softly but firmly. Her relative nodded quietly at her words but couldn't help wondering as she left Mariama's house if her decision was too risky. Still, Mariama held fast to her belief. Deep inside, she had an inexplicable feeling that one day someone would come, a person with whom she would feel a profound connection, unlike any other. Yet the waiting was not easy. She had to withstand the villagers' doubts while confronting her own fears, the fear of being alone forever and the uncertainty of whether the person she awaited even existed. These questions became a part of Mariama's daily life, and the villagers grew ever more eager for an answer to this intriguing story. Finally, after years of waiting, Mariama met a special man named Tunda. He wasn't from Neoka, but came from a distant village beyond the mountains. Tunda arrived like a breath of fresh air with a gentle smile and sincere eyes. He brought with him simplicity, honesty, and a calm demeanor that made Mariama feel an unusual sense of peace. Whenever she was with Tunda, Mariama seemed to forget the pressures and the villagers' gossip. She could be herself, free from the need to maintain a perfect image or think about others' expectations. Tunda listened intently to her, not just to her words, but to the deeper emotions hidden in her gaze. They often met under a large tree on the edge of the village, where only the sound of birdsong and soft breezes filled the air. Their conversations became the moments Mariama looked forward to most each day. She shared her dreams, her worries, and her hopes with Tunda. She told him about her parents, her brother Amari, and the village of Neoka, filled with so many memories. Tunda looked at Mariama with such tenderness that, over time, she realized her heart had truly been moved. He wasn't just a kind man. He was someone who understood and cherished her in a way no one else ever had. However, Mariama still felt some hesitation. Her feelings for Tunda were genuine, but she couldn't stop herself from thinking about the rumors surrounding her and the pressure to marry because of her age. After many sleepless nights of reflection, Mariama decided she needed to follow her heart and overcome her fears and the judgments of others. She decided to marry Tunda. The wedding date was set, and the entire village of Neoka quickly became swept up in excitement, preparing for a grand celebration. Mariama's wedding wasn't just a significant event in her life, but a moment everyone had been eagerly awaiting. They looked forward to seeing Mariama, the most beautiful woman in the village, walk down the aisle hand in hand with the man she had chosen. When the wedding day arrived, Neoka was filled with the sounds of drums and singing. Petals were scattered along the path leading to the ceremony. The villagers gathered in joy, offering their blessings to the couple. Mariama appeared in a traditional gown, radiant and stunning. Her eyes shone with happiness, while Tunda, dressed in simple but elegant attire, waited for her with a proud smile. The village was united in celebration. They laughed, sang and danced in honor of Mariama and Tunda. Everyone was moved as they witnessed Mariama exchange vows with Tunda, her eyes glistening with trust and hope for a happy future. That night, under the glow of countless torches, they danced beneath the starry sky. The villagers watched as Mariama finally found her home, her joy spreading and dissolving the rumors and pressures she had once faced. But would this happiness last forever? Or were there still challenges awaiting Mariama and Tunda in the days ahead? 2 years had passed since the wedding, but the happiness Mariama once felt was slowly being replaced by a heavy sense of worry. Although she and Tunda had built a warm and loving home, something was still missing in the eyes of the people of Neoka. Mariama had not yet had a child. In Neoka, having children was not merely a hope, but a mission. A duty that every woman was expected to fulfill. To the villagers, the firstborn child was a symbol of prosperity and the continuation of the family line. This expectation was especially heavy on Mariama, as she was seen as the one who would bring forth beautiful, healthy children to carry on the pride of both her family and the village. At first, people were patient and hopeful, but as time went on, their attitudes began to shift. Even Tunda's mother, who had once been so proud and happy for Mariama, started to grow distant. Where her gaze had once been filled with anticipation, now, whenever she saw Mariama, her eyes carried a quiet question she dared not speak aloud. Finally, one afternoon, as Mariama was preparing a meal, Tunda's mother entered the room. Her voice was gentle but unmistakably filled with concern. "Mariama, my dear, is something wrong? It's been 2 years, and still there's no good news for our family. Do you feel like something might not be right?" Mariama froze, feeling as though a heavy stone had been placed on her chest. It was a pain she had tried to avoid confronting. The pain of inadequacy, of longing for a complete family she could not yet achieve. She took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure, but her eyes betrayed her sadness. I don't know, Mother," Mariama replied softly, her voice trembling slightly. "Tunda and we both wish for a child, just like everyone else, but I don't know why." From that moment, Mariama felt an increasing sense of isolation envelop her. She could feel the weight of every gaze in the village upon her, as if she were carrying an unbearable burden she couldn't escape. Though she tried to ignore the whispers, every word she overheard pierced her heart a little deeper. Tunda's mother, once a loving and family-oriented woman, could no longer hide her disappointment. She yearned to hold her first grandchild, to teach them life's early lessons. But those dreams seemed further away than ever. Mariama began to think of the worst possibilities. She wondered if the problem was with her. Had fate abandoned her? Night after night, she prayed, desperately hoping for a miracle. But the more she prayed, the more her fear and despair grew. The villagers' patience eventually wore thin. They whispered behind Mariama's back, some speculating that she might be cursed or that something wasn't right with her. Each rumor was like an invisible wound, cutting deeper into Mariama's soul. She realized she was facing a challenge she had never anticipated, a test she wasn't sure she could overcome. For Mariama, every passing day became a journey filled with anxiety, unanswered questions, and fears she couldn't share with anyone. What would her life look like if that miracle never came? Could she ever find peace amidst the growing storm of doubt and judgment? Day after day, long nights passed in Mariama's home, and her dreams of having a complete family gradually seemed further and further out of reach. The pressure from her family and the villagers made the atmosphere in the house feel increasingly heavy. Mariama had tried everything, from traditional herbal remedies to visiting the best healers in the region. But nothing worked. No one could explain why she couldn't conceive. One day, while at the market, Mariama overheard an old vendor whispering about a wise woman who lived deep in the forest. The vendor claimed that this elder possessed the ability to see things ordinary people could not, to understand even the most hidden secrets. Intrigued and filled with hope, Mariama wondered, could this be her last chance to find answers? Without hesitation, Mariama decided to set out the very next morning. She followed a narrow trail that led into the dense forest, where the sunlight barely penetrated the towering trees. The sound of leaves crunching beneath her feet and birds singing in the distance accompanied her as her heart raced with a mix of anxiety and hope. Though she had no idea who she would meet, Mariama felt that this journey could be her only chance to break free from the lingering pain. At the trail's end, Mariama came upon a small, ramshackle house hidden amidst the thick foliage. The old house looked weathered, yet it exuded a strange and captivating aura, as if it held countless secrets. Sitting quietly on the porch was the wise woman, her eyes half closed, lost in thought. As Mariama approached, the woman opened her eyes, her gaze both kind and piercing, as though she could see straight into Mariama's soul. Mariama sat down before the woman and began to pour out her heart. She shared her pain, the pressure from her family, and the despair of being unable to have a child. Every story, every emotion, she spoke with raw honesty, as if the wise woman were the only one who could truly understand. The woman listened in silence, her bright eyes thoughtful but her expression calm. After a long moment of contemplation, she finally spoke, her voice deep and resonant. "Mariama, the problem does not lie with you. What you're enduring is not your fault." Mariama froze, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling as though afraid the answer might change everything. The woman continued, "When you were a child, your parents did something no one else knew about. They placed a powerful spell on you to protect you from harm. It's a strong curse, one that locked away your ability to conceive, so you would be safe and free from the dangers of adulthood." Mariama felt as though the ground beneath her had disappeared. She had never imagined that her destiny could be bound by a decision from her past, one she had no knowledge of. The woman's words hit her like a storm, leaving her reeling with endless questions and a sense of helplessness. "But why?" Mariama stammered, her eyes wide with confusion. The wise woman nodded gently as if anticipating the question. "Your parents believed they were protecting you in the best way they could, but they didn't realize that this would become the source of your greatest suffering today." Mariama sat in silence, tears streaming down her face. Years of enduring the villagers' gossip, countless sleepless nights, it all seemed so futile, caused by a single curse. A spell that had reshaped her entire life, a decision that had not been hers to make. Looking up at the woman, a flicker of hope returned to Mariama's tear-filled eyes. Is there any way to break this curse?" she asked, her voice heavy with desperation. The wise woman fell silent for a moment, her eyes reflecting deep thought. "There is a way," she said at last, her voice calm but laced with mystery. "But it will require you to sacrifice something precious. It will not be easy, and you may face many challenges. You must be ready for what lies ahead." The woman's words filled Mariama with both hope and fear. She couldn't stop thinking about the price she might have to pay. But she knew that if she did nothing, her life would remain forever bound by a past she couldn't control. Would Mariama dare to move forward to face the challenges and free herself from the mysterious curse? Or would she be forced to live forever under its shadow, carrying an unfulfilled longing for motherhood? Mariama sat frozen, her eyes wide, nearly unable to comprehend what the wise woman had just said. To break the curse and have a child, she would have to do something that had never crossed her mind, even in her worst nightmares. The only way to undo the spell was to conceive a child with someone who shared her bloodline. And the only person in her life who could fulfill this was her brother, Amari. The wise woman's words were like a sharp blade cutting deep into Mariama's heart. She sat silently, her hands trembling. The words echoed in her mind, each syllable striking her like a blow. Was this truly the only way? Was there no alternative? Why had fate been so cruel to her? The wise woman's gaze was filled with compassion. She looked at Mariama with a mix of pity and solemnity, as if fully understanding the turmoil the young woman was going through. "I know this is difficult to accept, Mariama, but the spell your parents cast is one of the strongest kinds, and there is only one way to break it." Mariama felt as though her heart was being crushed. The thought was too horrifying, too alien. How could she ever do such a thing? Amari was the only person she loved unconditionally, her protector throughout childhood. He had always been her rock, the person she trusted most in the world. But to turn him into part of this desperate plan, such an act could destroy everything they shared. A part of her yearned to become a mother, a yearning so strong it could make her consider anything. The years of pain, the longing to have a child, had worn her down piece by piece, leaving her feeling like a shadow of herself. She wanted to feel the miracle of life growing within her, to hold a baby in her arms and hear its laughter. But to achieve that in this way, was she willing to sacrifice her self-respect, her love for Amari, and even her sense of who she was? She lowered her head, her hands clenching tightly, her knuckles white. Within her raged a fierce battle between her desire for motherhood and the fear of losing everything she held dear. Would Amari even be able to understand? Could he see her pain and desperation for what they were? Or would this request drive him away forever, shattering the only bond she treasured? Mariama tried to push the thought away, but it clung to her like a shadow she couldn't escape. The idea of telling Amari about the curse and the only way to break it made her tremble with fear. She knew that just speaking the words would feel like a betrayal of their sacred sibling bond. How could she ask him to do such a thing? How could she hope that he would agree? But then a flicker of resolve crossed her eyes. If she did nothing, her life would remain shackled by the curse, forever subject to the pitying glances and gossip of the villagers. She would live in pain and regret, her only companion being a profound loneliness. The simple desire to be a mother, something so easily granted to others, had turned into an agonizing and cruel choice. Amid the chaos of her thoughts, Mariama wondered if this was the test that fate had set before her. A challenge to measure her courage, her strength, and her faith in the love she shared with her brother. She closed her eyes, taking a deep, steadying breath, trying to calm her racing mind. She couldn't make a decision right now, but she knew she needed time to think. Leaving the wise woman's house, Mariama felt as though her heart was weighed down by an enormous stone. Her steps were slow, each one burdened with doubt. Would she find the courage to pursue her dream of motherhood? Or would her fear of losing the bond with Amari hold her back? Mariama knew she stood at a crossroads with no easy way out, a decision that, no matter the outcome, would leave a permanent scar on her heart.